You
I'm a
just
pretty
fine. You
loud
come
person. Okay.
perfect. All right, we are recording, so I'm going to get us kicked off here. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon, depending on where you're calling from. My name is Chris Price. I'm the host of the Wealth Mindset and Real Estate Investing Meetup. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of Red Fox Multifamily. And tonight we have an amazing guest, a friend, Brooke Ceballos-Pinero. She's going to talk to us about how to build wealth while with real estate investing while working a demanding W-2. But before we get into Brooke's presentation for the evening, I want to make sure that you guys know we're going to take a little bit of a commercial break, and you know a little bit about tonight's sponsors. So for those of you who don't know, the Wealth Mindset and Real Estate Investing Meetup is open to all who are interested in growing generational wealth through passive real estate investing, increasing their financial intelligence. This meetup is for the busy professionals and retirees across various industries. The individuals in the group make a good living and they have discretionary income to invest in real estate for its proven wealth building power, but don't necessarily have the time, skill set, or network to do it at speed and at scale. This meetup focuses on helping us all grow our wealth mindset by learning how to build and preserve wealth while developing and maintaining an abundance mindset. This meetup will focus on multifamily real estate investing as well as other proven ways to build wealth through real estate through passive investments. And now we're sponsored by Red Fox Multifamily. Red Fox Multifamily helps pharmaceutical and life science industry professionals diversify their portfolios and add passive income and get all the other perks of real estate investing without having to do any of the work themselves. Red Fox Multifamily partners with passive investors to buy commercial multifamily real estate based on vetted opportunities we get access to from our trusted network of top operators in the best markets throughout the country. Partnering with Red Fox Multifamily makes investing in real estate completely hands-off, allowing investors to add passive income and build equity and save on taxes, and all while being in an investment vehicle that's backed by a hard asset. So the next part to this, guys, is just me going through a little bit of the logistics for tonight. So just so you know, we're recording, so please mute your lines when you're not speaking. I know Brooke will shout out and ask you if you want to speak up and ask questions along the way. Just take yourself off mute, or if she invites you to throw something out there, please go ahead and do so. Otherwise, you can hold your questions to the end of the presentation if that is preferred. This presentation is being recorded. The material does not constitute an offer or a solicitation to purchase securities. This is for information purposes only and should not be construed as business, financial, or legal advice. So let me first, just before I go get into anything else, let me make sure I admit the rest of our guests here. So give me 1 second. Okay, so in terms of getting connected with me, please, I love connecting with folks. I love speaking with people, learning a little bit more about you. You can learn a little bit more about me. Let's reach out, connect. We can talk. If you're interested in learning more about wealth mindset and real estate investing, or if you're just interested in learning a little bit more about me, please reach out. My email is on the screen, Chris at Red Fox Multifamily, or you can scan the QR code so that we can stay connected. So for tonight, I'm going to just a quick review of we're going to have our speaker introduction. Our speaker is going to have a presentation, and then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A and some virtual networking. But let me first start out by introducing Brooke. So I feel like Brooke and we're just so connected. She is just such a powerhouse in this space. Has every interaction that I have with her, she just keeps it all the way real. And such an authentic person, such a hardworking person. I don't know if I've met anyone that's worked harder than her to accomplish the things that she's accomplished in this space and outside of this space, which I know she'll speak to in a moment. Brooke's passion is helping others become financially free with real estate, specifically by investing in apartment buildings. And I know Brooke invests in other things as well, which I'm sure she'll speak to this evening. So Brooke started as an LP investor or a passive investor, for those of you who may not know, in 2021, and she acquiring 676 units. And then she's been a GP or general partner or sponsor at 481 units. She's also invested and has been a GP in a triple net lease investment. She's using her 22 years of servant leadership experience in corporate America and her educational and team sports background to build her active real estate portfolio. She's passionate about health and fitness and travel and women's empowerment and providing a clear path to marginalized people to provide generational wealth while being a financial fiduciary. She enjoys going to water parks with her daughters, Michaela and Marissa, Jalen, and Layla, dancing and hitting every food spot with her husband, which I have also seen on Instagram. You guys go to some awesome spots in Northern California there. So I know the next time when I get out there, who to reach out to get all the good spots for the great meals. So without further ado, guys, let me introduce Brooke and hand it over to her so she can talk to us tonight about building wealth with real estate while working a demanding W-2.
Thank you. What a great introduction, Chris. I appreciate you. Make me sound so cool. And so I don't have an official. Is it talking back or is that you?
You're good now.
I'm good. Okay. And so I don't have an official presentation. Essentially, what I wanted to do was to share a little bit of the story of how I got started. I want to leave you guys with some action tips to help you get started as well. And to rewind a little bit, as he mentioned, Chris, I come from 22 years of the corporate space. I've ran teams. I have went up the corporate ladder. I have just left my W-2 actually just a couple weeks ago because of the grind. Okay, it is very difficult to be able to do this journey while you're working a W-2. But since that is the topic at hand, I want you guys kind of understand how I did that and then actions to take should you decide to take the same route that I have taken. Whether you love your W-2 or not, or you want more control of your day, I hope something here resonates with you and inspires you to take action. And I would love this to be engaging. I don't know if there's a chat here. I'll open up the chat. So if you do have questions, I really don't want it me blabbing the whole time. I would love you just to ping or raise your hand and let's act like we're breaking brew into bread, right? So let me pause for a second. So I started my journey in July of 2021. I had read Grant Cardone's books, right? The 10X rule, all the things, COVID hit, and I was an area manager for a corporate job where nobody was in these office buildings. I was putting in fiber and I wasn't making any money. And so I signed up for a mentorship with Grant. At the end of that mentorship, he gave me a free ticket to the real estate summit in July, which was my gift to myself. This was my 40th birthday. People always have a point in their life when everything pivoted and everything changed. That point for me was going to the real estate summit. I showed up by myself. I had a VIP ticket. I didn't know anybody. And after hearing all these inspirational stories of millionaires and billionaires and people who left their W-2s or were currently working W-2s, pulling together with other people to buy apartment buildings, sharing the rent, which is the profits. That's what you get for your investors, right? When Jared Glant at the end of it said, hey, it's $25,000. So this is not chump change, y'all. $25,000 is a lot of money. He said, it's $25,000 to start the rest of your life. And I had this feeling in my gut. So keep in mind, I had just left my other corporate job because there's a lot of things going on there during COVID. I took out all of my 401k money. So I had a lot of money sitting in my bank accounts that I intended to roll to a self-directed IRA because you have more control of your investments when you have an IRA as opposed to a 401k. And when I finally raised my hand and Anthony Sisson came over to me and I had to do that wire, I don't know if it was God or if it was a higher power. I had something tell me like, you need to do this or you're going to regret it. And I was so scared, y'all. I was scared shitless because here I am. I'm not working at the moment. I have all this money in the bank and here I am dropping 25K. What I'm really thinking is like, how the hell am I going to tell my husband this, right? So I just dropped this money. But I run, on full transparency, I kind of run the household for the money stuff. Okay, so that's cool. So let's fast forward a little bit. So in this mentorship, what you learn if you want to take on this journey is, one, you need to read everything. So when I'm being mentored and I'm with the real estate club with Grant, I am soaking everything up. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to people like Christopher Pierce. I don't know whether to call you Chris or Christopher.
Chris.
I'm listening.
Chris.
You okay, call you Chris. You're soaking up all of the knowledge, right? And so I'm listening to Michael Blanc and I'm reading the yellow famous book, Financial Freedom with Real Estate Investing. I'm listening to Bigger Pockets. I'm watching and listening to Joe Fairless. I'm getting all the books. So you're educating yourself. Second thing that you're doing is you're surrounding yourself in a community of like-minded people. And they are inspiring you to keep going forward, or they're already light years ahead of you. And then you're taking action. So why is this important, right? So for those of you who are in your W-2, maybe you want to get out of it, or maybe you're completely happy. You still need to know this field. You still need to read, listen to podcasts, listen to people like Chris, read books, show up. And then you want to surround yourself with people who are doing these things. There's a ton of community. Some are free, some come with a cost, depending on what your goal is, right? So you do want to know what you want and reverse engineer that. Say you decide, wow, I want to buy apartment buildings and I want to be a sponsor. Great. I highly recommend signing in with the community, because partnerships are going to elevate you. Because essentially when you're new, nobody's going to trust you with their money. They definitely didn't trust me at first. They liked me, but they're like, Brooke, you don't have investors I can interview. You've never gone full cycle. And in multifamily, that means you've acquired an asset, you've rebuilt it or remodeled it, and then you've refied or sold it and got profits and gave the returns back to people. Okay. So one, learn after you're educating yourself on this investment process and buying apartment buildings. Do I want to be the leader of the pack and partner with people to take on apartment buildings because I hate my W-2 and I was sick of the corporate world, which is why I left it. And I saw the freedom of I get to choose who I surround myself with on here. So then, and we'll talk about that. But maybe as you're on this journey and you're reading the books and you're attending these webinars and communities, you realize, oh my God, that's a lot of work. Like I have to be responsible for millions of dollars. I have to raise the capital. I have to tour the properties. I have to work with these brokers. You know what? I'm not the person who really wants to show up to all these places, you know? And I live in California. I don't invest in my backyard. So I am forced to travel to Texas, travel to Florida, travel to red states where the investing, you know, rules and guidelines are a lot more easier and more geared to owners and landlords and not so much to the tenants, right? So once you decide after learning everything and reading the books, and then you're going to figure out, if I love my W-2, then I'm going to show up to these communities and I'm going to start partnering with people. So I know Chris is huge in the pharmaceutical space, right? So he has a lot of people that he knows, you know, medical, doctors, etc. A lot of the people I know in that space really love their W-2, but they have all this extra money and it's just sitting in the bank or it's not doing anything for them. So then they're going to work with people to put their money into buildings with people that they trust. So let's say you are that person. Say you are the person that you love your W-2 and you don't want to leave your W-2. Interview the people that you're going to invest your money in. So first of all, I'm going to pause for a second. I know I might be kind of like squirrel all over the place here, but I want to put something in perspective before I tell you what questions you need to ask if you choose to stay a passive investor and not active or you're touring. The stock market on average over the last 75 years is given anywhere from 7 to 10% on returns. This is on Forbes, this is on Wall Street Journal, this is on, you know, daily CRE, this is facts. I'm not making this up. Today, right now, it's about an average of 8%. If you're leaving your money in the bank, it's what, 0.01%. So let's say zero, especially with inflation the way it is, you're making nothing, okay? Over the same time frame of 75 years, multifamily has an average of return of 20%. Okay, so let's put that in perspective. If your money's sitting in the stock market, it's all over the place like a roller coaster. So decide really, is this for you? I say yes. If you're an investor and you want to multiply your returns faster, you want it in multifamily, AKA apartment buildings. Okay, Brooke, well, I'm new to this and I don't know where the hell to start. I don't know what to go. What questions do I ask? Say Chris has an apartment building and now he is doing what we call a syndication. And this is when people get together, they're pulling in money so they can purchase an apartment building that you normally can't do on your own, because a lot of people think, oh, only millionaires do this or the super wealthy do this. This is completely false, okay? Most people that do this are pulling and partnering with people that they've known for a long time. They've dated, right? You hear people say, this is not a one-night stand. This is a marriage. You need to get to know these people, okay? So when you become part of a community and somebody is presenting a property to you, some of the questions that you want to ask is, first of all, is how many deals have gone full cycle? How many deals have you ran that have gone full cycle? So what does that mean to you? This means they have acquired the deal. They have paid out investors every quarter. Some do out monthly, but that's rare, okay? On average, it's every quarter. They've stabilized the property, and then they have sold or refinanced it within 3 to 7 years. And the reason why it's between 3 and 7 years, because it's really dependent on the debt market and how much they can really maximize the return for their investors. So you want them to have a track record. If this is their first deal, you know, it's going to be hard for you. It's not impossible, but it's going to be a lot more difficult for people to give you your money. Hence why a lot of people start with friends and family, right? 2, do you have investors that I can speak with, right? And if they have that track record as they claim to have, because everybody thinks they're an expert. Oh yeah, I've done this a few times, right? This is your hard-earned money and you've busted your ass to get this money. Great. Can you give me 2 or 3 investors that were part of some of the deals that went full cycle so I can speak with them, so I can know what your flow is a little bit? I would really like to hear it from them firsthand. That way you can see, were there ever any capital calls? What's a capital call? You're going to see that happening a lot right now, especially anybody who purchased things in 2018 and they did an interest only and now the balloon payment's about to come up. A capital call happens when, say, there's not enough reserves in the bank account. All of a sudden, there's not enough reserves for items, or your pro forma, which is another word for what we are thinking this property is going to make based off the actions that we're going to take. So that's another thing. Don't ever buy a property or go with somebody if they're saying that it will cash flow. What is it cash flowing today? If a property is not cash flowing today and making money today, walk. Deuces out. I will not invest with somebody ever that all of their projections are based off pro forma, and as of today, the property is trash. Absolutely not. So beware of that as well. Lastly, you want to ask them, have you had any capital calls? Don't be afraid to ask these questions. This is your money. This is your investment, and this is a two-way street. Don't let them flabbergast you with a bunch of acronyms and a bunch of big words to make them feel smart and make you feel overwhelmed, because in full transparency, it's not that complicated. It is a lot of work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but it's not that complicated, okay? So let me recap a little bit here. So first thing, if you're somebody who wants to be a passive investor, you don't want to do all the touring and the negotiations and remodeling of these properties and the disbursements of, you know, the investments, the cash on cash, we call it. You want to ask them, how many properties have they gone full cycle on? 2, do you have any investors I can interview? Who can I speak with so I get to know your style? And essentially, you're going to ask them a few questions of your own. You know, how do they communicate? Was their communications clear? Are they easy to reach if I have a question? Are they holding monthly calls, quarterly calls, etc.? Right? That's important. And then lastly, of course, you're going to ask them, have you done a capital call? Because you want to know. So I want to pause, because I know I'll data dump a bunch of information on people and they're kind of like, whoa, that was a whole lot of intel. Are there any questions or comments, or is there anything thus far that's been a little unclear? It was
See
just heads.
anything? Nothing in the chat, but no, you brought up some really good points, right? Like so this, and I remember you and I talked about this, the idea of dating and really getting the chance to understand those, and get to know those operators that were out there, and I think that's really important. For doing that, I can speak, from my experience. I shared very much a similar journey to you, where I was going through all the books, through the podcasts, joining all the meetups. And then, it came to a point where I was saturated. But what was great in those meetups is I was getting a chance to meet some of those operators. I was attending conferences and meeting some of these people and getting to know them and keeping our conversations going. And then, what finally happened when opportunity came, was prepared and ready to go and partner on some deal that a passive investor. Now, I think you spoke to this, that being a passive investor is actually a great way to learn this business. Yes, you'll get all the information that you can from reading and attending conferences or meetups like this, but the opportunity to invest passively in a deal, to see and experience what Brooke is talking about, is such a powerful thing. So I just wanted to hit those points. Does anyone else have any comments or questions before we keep going?
I wanted to ask a question. You kept mentioning capital calls, which we know what capital calls are. We actually just went over that in one of our classes this week. But you were stressing that is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing to see from general partners?
So for me, I personally would not want to get a capital call. I'm going to give you two different perspectives here. So that's a great question, Joseph. One, for me, a capital call means you don't have enough money in the bank to cover unforeseen circumstances. Okay. Now I have to go back to my investors, which a lot of them have given their blood, sweat, and tears. They've given us their last 50K. They've given us their last 100K. Okay. And now, because either the property is not performing as planned or you don't have enough in the reserves, now I have to go back to my investors and ask for more money. It's not a good look. Okay. However, some operators would argue that, well, Brooke, I am paying them out on their investment, 46% cash on cash, which is basically, say $400 out of $100,000, right? 4% of whatever you're investing every year. And when times get tough, I should be able to go to my investor database and be able to lean on them too, because I don't want to lose the property and so on and so forth. And I see both sides, they're paying you every quarter. This is a relationship, right? However, for me, it's also kind of, I don't want to say piss poor planning, because I've seen some heavy hitters having to do capital calls, but I know it leaves a taste in the investor's mouth. Okay. Because now I feel shitty if I just gave you my last 25K, 50K, 100K, and now it makes me uneasy. Now there's not enough money because now there's something that has happened at the property and you don't have enough reserves, enough capital or money in the bank to cover this. And now you're going back to the investors. So now I'm hoping that somebody else, if I just tapped out on my money for you, is covering this, because if the bank takes this away or I lose this investment, there goes all my money. Bye. Hence why you want to ask those questions to the investors. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Question.
Is there any other questions? Emotional outburst?
Yeah, no other questions in the chat. And yeah, well, I'll keep you going. You can keep going.
Okay, now I'm going to pivot now, because I know the topic at hand was and I believe it was, how do I invest, right? Or is it if they want to be an investor, if you want to be a GP, like people want to buy apartments. Okay, cool. While working a W-2, because I had to do that for 2 years and 2 months to be exact. And I just left my W-2. So I have a very demanding corporate job. Okay. And luckily, majority of my team was East Coast and Central. I'm West Coast. My day would start approximately 6 a.m. in the morning, anywhere from 5:30 to 6, and then kids are getting dropped off at school. They're usually out of the house by 8:45, give or take. So for probably about an hour and a half in the morning, I was going through like the broker communications. Okay, where's the broker? Okay, what is happening here? How are my partners doing? You set a timer. So I am a ride or die, live on my calendar. And the night before, I have a planner and I write out every single thing, every single call. Case my calendar technology is great when it works, right? Until it doesn't. So I write down my day and then I like to cross things off. And then I have timers for that. So when I had my W-2, which I just left on October 2nd, I would set a timer. Okay, I have an hour to check in with my partners because it's important to keep open conversations with them constantly. We had a WhatsApp group with those of us that were purchasing the apartments together and the status of those. So I'd set a timer for 60 minutes in the morning. And then I was logged in for my corporate job, usually around 8:45 to about 4 o'clock, give or take, because most people were kind of checking out by then. And I would still stay on to availability for them, but usually between 4 and 5, I would have my laptop here as I'm responding to emails, as I'm underwriting deals, right? And then once 5 o'clock shuts off, then I would spend another hour. Okay, here's underwriting stuff. Where's the status of this? And then I would listen to a podcast. So a minimum of 30 minutes a day. I would have that scheduled and I would be listening to Michael Blanc's podcast, or I would be sitting down and reading his financial freedom book with, financial freedom with via real estate investing. Or if I was like, crap, man, I'm going to make dinner and this is going to take time, I would put it on Audible, listening to podcasts or one of the books to educate myself as I am cooking and making dinner at the same time. So the biggest thing you're going to do is give your time to your W-2, okay? But still get up early to take care of yourself. Set a timer for an hour and write all the stuff down. Okay, from 8:45 to about 4:30-ish, 4:45, focus on your W-2, okay? Then continue to make sure. On my lunches though, I was educating myself. So usually from 12 to 1 or 1 to 2, because I've been remote for a few years. I would be listening to something as I'm eating or I'm cooking or I'm reading something. So that's also something you would do. After you're done having dinner with your family, if you have kids, we juggle, we're a blended family. I have a 15-and-a-half-year-old and a soon to be 12-year-old. My husband has a 19-year-old and a 14-year-old, but now that school's back in session, they're now with their mom. So it's not so much chaotic, right? You need to spend time with your partners. So make sure you're spending time with those that you love and care about. You're having dinner, you're present. We do not have phones or any of that set up at the table, okay? So give them your, an hour, 2 hours, undivided attention. So by this time, it's about 7 o'clock. So now I am back on the action, checking the emails. I'm underwriting deals. I'm doing napkin underwriting. Then I'm passing it to my partners. Hey, this is what it looks like on here. Tell me what you think. So from like 7 to about 9 o'clock, I'm back to educating myself. Okay, did I get my 30 minutes in or did something come up with the kids? Now I have to add it back on my calendar. Essentially, you prioritize what's important and you're going to schedule the hell out of this. Okay, so ride and die by your calendar, even your gym time. Even for me to go wash my face before I go to bed at 9 o'clock, I have an alarm that's going off. Wash your face, brush your teeth. I know it sounds crazy, y'all, but I'm telling you, like once you start getting into the flow and you're like, okay, I got up, I did this, I sat in silence, I worked out, I did this, I ate, you schedule it. Okay, did I do this? Boom, boom, boom. And then you don't have to think about it and live on do not disturb. Y'all, social media, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, all of that, your email, that shit is such a distraction. 1, 2, your email is homework that other people give to you. So unless you have a specific email, like say you submitted an offer and it's due to be telling you today, do not start your day with that shit. Do not, because you're going to go down a rabbit hole. Or if you do have to do that because you're like, oh my God, well, I have this presentation and this is how they, communicate with me. Set a timer, 15, 20 minutes, right? I set a timer I have an alarm at 1 o'clock. And then at 7 o'clock before I start doing my own studies where I will check social media and I set a timer for 30 minutes. 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the day. So if you're blowing up my social media for some type of shit, your emergency, no disrespect, your emergency is not my emergency. You guys have to feed your focus, starve your distractions, because if your do not disturb is on and you're constantly on social media and you're serving everybody else because you think you're providing value, and you look back on your day and your to-do list is not scratched off, you just took care of everybody else. What did you do for yourself? Stop. It's crazy, y'all. So have your calendar, live and die by that, have alarms. I know it drives my family crazy. I have alarms that go off all the time for the most freaking random things. Okay. But I have to. And then you just scratch things off, and then you can look back on this isn't my planner, but your planner, you're like, okay, cool. You can literally see what you did for yourself. Okay. And that's including everything. And then on the weekends, so I shouldn't say I'm grateful, but I'm divorced, right? So my kids go to my ex-husband on the weekends, and he's a couple hours out. So then I am up at 6 a.m. I'm up around 5:36 every day. My body's just wired that way. I'm in bed before 10 o'clock. On the weekends, between about 6 and 1 or 2 in the afternoon, I'm back on the grind. Following up with the brokers, I'm underwriting deals. We're checking with our property managers, which we have weekly calls for that. I'm reading, soaking up all of the stuff. And then I'm going into social media. I am responding. I'm creating content. So the content I create on majority of it is Instagram. So I'm Brooklyn0719. I'm sure we'll share that information later. I even have to create, like I have a video I have to share that talks about debt, because people have this whole thing with debt. I use the Big View platform, BIGVU, because if you want to be in this space, y'all, if they don't know you, they can't flow you. And what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to go to your social media. They're going to go to your website. And if you don't look like a leader in the space and you're not educating people and providing value, they're not going to invest with you. Okay. And I know it's hard to put yourself out there, but schedule the content you're going to put out. And I will shoot a little video and I write it all out, and then I kind of rehearse it in my head, like, okay, boom, boom, it's clear, it's tight. I make sure that I'm providing value and I'm not just bragging like, oh my God, I'm so cool, because people are going to shut it down. Nobody gives a shit about you in full transparency. Sorry, they don't. We're wired to care about what is in it for us. What is the value that you're bringing to somebody? So if you really want to be serious about this game, go pull your books. The books by Joe Fairless, Michael Blanc, all of the people that are heavy hitters out here. Go onto the podcast. Some of them have transcripts, websites. Write these things down. What are the questions that you asked when you were new on this journey? Which Chris made a really good point. When you start as a passive investor, you learn about, so I didn't like this, I did like this, I didn't like that. Now you're going to find something in a book or website or magazine that you read. You're going to put it in your own words, right? I like to use Grammarly too, because sometimes if it's too wordy, I'll say, hey, you can use one word and it'll trim the fat. Then I'm like, okay, and keep it under a minute as much as possible. And then I'm like, okay, boom, boom, hey, boom, boom, boom. So for those of you guys that are new, the time for you to start your investor database, if you have a property now, was 2 years ago. What does that mean, right? You can't reach out to people saying, hey, I have this property. Do you want to invest? And then think that people are going to want to invest with you when now they just see you as this brand new person into the space. You need to start building credibility now. You need to start putting out content now, showing up to the places now. Not like, oh, hey, by the way, I got this property. And people are like, what the F? You're doing this now? So it takes time to grow your base. Start by providing credibility. Find books, podcasts, take little things from masterminds or groups that you might be a part of, put it in your own words. I like the Big View platforms, like a teleprompter app, because if I'll rehearse it and I'll talk normal, but if I forget something, I can kind of like look to the left, which some people might notice I do. I do that sometimes. I kind of like, I'll look and I'll see it kind of scrolling, keeping me on target. Okay. So I know I just threw out a lot of stuff at you guys, but if I could recap, those of you guys who have your W-2, live and die by your calendar. In your calendar, you should be putting in, I'm taking a lunch, I'm taking a walk, I'm going to the gym. Hell, for those of us who wear makeup, I even put wash my face, do this at 9 o'clock, boom, 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 right? And setting alarms for your social media. I go on there probably twice a day. Post your content Engage with other people. You want to grow your following. You know, the easiest and free way to do it, engage on other people's content. Hey, I really like that. That's kick ass cool. Because how many people, when you go and you share something, especially when it's controversial or it's super educational, inspirational, you start looking at the comments. What are other people saying? And when I see some of these comments, I'm like, man, that guy is spot on. Or God, who is this guy? He's funny. Look at his comment. He made me laugh. Then I touch their profile. I'm like, okay, you're cool people. I'm going to follow him. Right. So that's probably one of the most organic, great ways to build your following. And that's important because social media is going to be a tool for credibility when you guys are building your investor database and you showing up, because nothing is going to replace you showing up. So when you have your W-2, and I know this sucks, I had to use a lot of my vacation time to go to these events. Okay. And if you're remote, you have to be able to get up super, super early. Like if I knew, shoot, man, I'm on an event today and it's from 3 to 5, then I made sure that from like 6 to 8 in the morning, I made up that time. So my W-2 couldn't get all pissy if somebody took a picture of me and posted it on social media. What the hell? We're paying you from 8 to 5 and your ass is in Texas at a Michael Blanc event or this event or something. Yeah, bro. I was on the computer though from 6 to 8 in the morning. You're welcome. I made up that time. You got your 8 hours. Don't complain. Track all of that. Okay. So calendar, alarms, scheduling your social media, turn off, do not disturb, y'all. Feed your focus, starve your distractions. So to be a GP as well, again, you're going to learn everything. I recommend being a passive investor first, which is what I started with to learn what I liked and didn't like. My first year, I was at 19 in-person events. Why? Because partnerships are the best grown in person. Nothing will replace in-person interactions. I want to see how you treat the CEO, you should also treat the janitor the same way. Every partner I have for our 481 units in our triple net, which I'll talk about triple net in a second too. I know Chris talked about this. I have known them for over a couple of years. I know their families. I have had meals with them. I have had multiple conversations. We've dated, okay? Somebody that I barely know, I'm not going to partner with. I'm not. Because I am now seeing what happens when people just think, oh my God, they're so great and they're just cool people. And now they're in really bad situations because somebody who was cool over the video, they didn't have their best interests at heart. And it's just like dating somebody, you want to take time to get to know them a little bit because you are married to these people for 3 to 7 years and your investors are your bloodline. And if you're partnering with other people and you're leveraging other people's money, your ass better protect that money, like better than if it's your money. You know how you feel when you lose money yourself. Imagine you lose somebody else's money. What if that was their whole life savings? You better care. You better care because you will go down very quickly and you will not be successful in this industry. So just make sure that you are showing up in person. I know 19 events is very excessive, but I'm a pit bull on the jugular when I want something. And when I saw the success of so many people and the mistakes I had made, being a high earner in the corporate world, I saw the frivolous, stupid spending I was doing. I thought, oh my God, I have this corporate job and oh my God, I'm making all of this money and I have this nice house and I have 2.5 kids and a husband and a nice car. Oh, I'm living it. Bullshit. You are one pink slip away from being poor. That's a cold, hard fact. You guys need to start supplementing your income with passive income. If you look at what's happening in the world right now, there's so many corporate people, which was almost 40% of my investor database, that are getting pay cuts. That's what happened to me. I got a pay cut. I got like 3 roles for the price of 1. People got surplus. We got cut. We were being forced to just leave or be demoted. Screw that. You guys want to be wealthy. You want enough passive income coming in, investing with people you trust with the questions I previously disclosed. So you have FU money. So when that W-2 comes around the bend and they're not treating you what you're worth and you're overworked and you're underappreciated and you're underpaid, you can be like, you know what? I don't need this shit. And essentially that's what I did 2 years ago and how I was able to leave a 6-figure corporate base job. I was like, all right, no more frivolous spending. Every time I'm like, oh my God, I got this big sale, or I just got promoted twice in a year. I'm going to go buy a Louis Vuitton purse. That's $3,000. I look back, I'm like, how stupid was I? You can't do that. You can't. So then I was like, okay, if it doesn't make me money, I'm not buying it. I'm not going to trade time for money. I paid off anything that was excessive. I got rid of about $800 worth of subscriptions. I made sure my savings was about 6 months. And I took all of my commission checks and invested everything on this journey. And I survived off my base. So I got real hardcore focused. Figure out what you want. What is your goal? 1 year, 3 year, 5 year. Reverse engineer that, cut that shit in half. Most people, when they start this journey, takes 3 to 5 years. I was able to get out of here in 2 years and 2 months, but I was also balls to the wall every freaking day. And I have reminders. You have a vision board, right? But I'm laying down. First thing I do when I look over, I have my vision board. I have the pictures of my daughters around here. I have pictures of, of my husband. I sponsor a girl in Guatemala. Okay. They only get a 7th grade education. I've been sponsoring her for 7 years. A picture of her and the Guatemala school district because they only get a 7th grade education. And I want to build a school there. Ceballos-Pinero, Escuela. Losing my voice there. And so when things get hard, you have these pictures, and I want my family to go to Greece. I want them to travel, and I have billionaire. And then Forbes posted an article of like the top traits of billionaires, how they're relentless, their time management. And so I put that all around right there. Anything that's going to motivate you. When my kids give me love notes, when my husband gives me love notes, they go there. When my mentors or people who inspire me say something, I write it down and I frame it. Like Grant put this thing like, be great, Brooke, lots of love, something like that. And Grant signed it. I have that in a gold frame up there with my vision board. You have to surround yourself with everything to keep you going because this journey is hard. It is not easy. I'm going to pause really quick because I'll just keep going. And I want to see if there's any questions or concerns thus far.
Not seeing any questions in the chat or anyone, no one has their hands up. This is such a real talk, right? Because it's one of those things as you go through this journey, and you had a very specific outcome that you were looking to achieve, and exiting your W-2 2 weeks ago. And I know I said it before we started recording, but I'll say it again just for the audience. Like, that's such a huge thing, and a huge kudos to you and congratulations, because one of the things that the greatest concept that I think I learned in this journey that I've been going through here is the idea of financial freedom. And financial freedom, what we were all taught and educated was that you go to school, you get a good job, you go out there, invest in your 401k, and you just grind and you do it. And those are the things that we were conditioned to do. And that's fine. What Brooke talked about just a moment ago around being able to invest that discretionary income into real assets to create passive income, that part was absent in all of our education. And if you look at what she's been able to do now in doing that, has now afforded her the opportunity to be what is the definition of financially free. He can walk away from her W-2 and say, I'm going to now focus on me and my business and my family, on my time, on my agenda, and not have to be told what to do, when to do, etc. So I think there's just such a powerful thing. And I don't want anyone to lose that point that she brought up, because it's such a powerful thing. And that ultimately is what we're all after. And I'll just say one more thing, Brooke, and that is, whether you could be someone that is not in love with their W-2, or you could be someone that is in love with their W-2 and is passionate about what it is you do. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I'm one of those people. I'm on the opposite. I enjoy what I do as a pharmaceutical professional, but I also want to be financially free, because I can do what I love to do even more, even better, and help more people in other ways, and be a blessing to other people in other ways, which is my why for being able to do this. But I bring that up because when you get on this journey of being able to do this, you just want to make sure that you're diversifying your portfolio and you're adding those passive income streams. So Brooke, thank you for hitting that. I want to hopefully make sure that people just take those nuggets away.
No, and I love that. And I love how you're giving additional feedback because then it allows me to write things down on other things that I think are important to you, are important to people. So one, you hit on something about giving back and doing stuff. So this money, y'all, it's not really for you. It is for you, but it's not, okay? Because so many people like, Brooke, why aren't you satisfied? Like, you had a 6-figure corporate job, you have a nice home, you have this, you guys get to go on vacations and all of this stuff. And it does go back to what Chris said. I don't want you telling me, I can't go on vacation at the end of the quarter. You're telling me what I can do, what I can't do. And it was like golden handcuffs. You know what I'm saying? And even it was my sister the other day. She's like, I'm comfortable, sister. I live a great life. Yeah, well, don't you want to give back to other people? When you see injustices being done, I want to be able to cut a check. I want to pull a Beyonce, y'all. In Puerto Rico, we have family in Puerto Rico. When all of that stuff hit the fan and the government was sitting on their laurels, not helping them, how fabulous would that have been for us to go down there, hire some food trucks, and help people rebuild their lives together? I still don't to this day right now have that financial ability to do that. And my financial freedom goal is what one of my partners have. She lives off $1 million passively off of triple net investments, which I'm going to speak on really quickly as well, because I see we only have 10 minutes. Okay. So keep in mind, it's not always going to be about the money. The money will come and go. You can make a shit ton of money anywhere. Okay. When this gets hard and your family's like, Mom, and I've never missed a game or birthday, by the way. I never miss major events, but today my husband was like, God, babe, you're always working. Can we have some time alone? This stuff's real and you need to make sure that you're prioritizing them. And the money's going to go to, fighting injustice, or for me, growing and educating women and the marginalized communities and growing a school. Or when I see something or a woman or a friend and she's in a shitty relationship and she can't afford to get out of it. And I was like, hey, girl, I'm going to help you get back on your feet. I'm going to pay for 6 months of your apartment. Like, it's about to give back and leave a legacy and contribute to something bigger than yourself. Okay. That's bottom line. So don't think when people start saying, God, why aren't you happy? Because you're going to lose some friends on this journey. They're just not going to understand you. And I'm like, well, for me, it's about leaving this world better than it was. And it's like a calling. It's a purpose. It's something that you feel like God is telling you to do, because you weren't put on this earth to bust your ass 8 to 5 at a gut-wrenching job. You were not. There's so much, you're a fleck in this world. Okay. So travel the world. It's the best teacher. 2, because this is also an investing community. Multifamily, you guys are getting the ropes of. Multifamily is not really a cash flow play, and full transparency. Multifamily is great at eradicating taxes when you're in a tax situation. How does multifamily do that? So multifamily, when you are taking on debt, sometimes you have an appreciating asset. You can do a cost segregation. This year, it was down to 80%. I think it goes down to 60% next year, which means you're able to write off some of the things that are appreciating, they're losing value. You get to write all of this off as a loss on your taxes. Multifamily normally has a stabilization period. So usually for 6 to 12 months, you're remodeling. You're not really getting that much cash flow. You don't make most of your money until the refi or the sale. So let's compare that to triple net investments. So my partner with triple net, because I am a partner in one triple net investment, because she has been so successful in exiting, she was a daycare owner, provider, multiple businesses, sold them for over 7 figures, and then started buying land and buildings for like 6-8 million. Okay. But she doesn't use debt. Okay. Because in today's day and age, with the market being at 6%, 7%, you would be upside down. Triple net is a cash flow play. So we buy the land, you buy the building, right? And the tenant who is there, Taco Bell, Starbucks, they pay you rent. So if our triple net right now is the Learning Center in South Lake, Texas, that pays $415,000 annually, which we split 90-10 among our investors. We get paid nothing for 5 years until the sale. And that's something that's different. Most multifamily operators, they're raising an asset management fee and an acquisition fee. They're getting paid up front before the work is truly even started. With our triple net, we're not getting paid anything up front. We're not getting paid anything unless we're actually investing into the deal. So I get every 30 days, I get money for that. But because these are new builds and we're not taking debt, you're not going to get a tax write-off. The tax write-off is super, super low on that. So the most successful people, well, in my circle anyways, the multimillionaires and some of the billionaires, they invest their money in multifamily to eradicate taxes, but then they invest or buy triple net, where you're not a landlord, you have no responsibilities, you own the land and building, they're just paying you rent. And most of the time it's a 20-year lease. But to make our multifamily people happy, we usually will sell it at 1 month over 5 years, because every 5 years it goes up about 20% for inflation. So we have a little meat on the bone to make it more appealing to the next buyer. So bottom line, multifamily will help you eradicate taxes, okay? Triple net investments will give you cash flow. Those that we do pay out every 30 days. And for example, say you invested 120 grand. I mean, this is closed, by the way, but so I'm not trying to like pitch you on some deal. So it's ours was 120K you invested. You got paid $571 every month. And then it went up about 20% every 5 years. So for some people, they're like, wait a minute, 100, if I put in, and if you cut it in half, if you invest 60 grand, just cut the 571 in half. Some people are like, well, what the hell? I gave you 120K and I'm only getting 571 a month. That tells me, okay, you're still learning the finances and investing side. Because one, if it's sitting in the bank, you ain't making a damn thing. Okay. So you having 120K in a building where Taco Bell or Starbucks or the Learning Center or the AutoZone is paying you, you'll be all right. Okay. And then if you have it in your stock market, bro, you are not making that kind of cheese in the stock market. Again, going back to what we said earlier, they're paying out about 8% right now. And it is all over the freaking place. And you don't get to take money out. So be real. You take that money out, you're hit 10%. Unless you're 59 and a half, you leave or quit or whatever it is, you get fired or you roll it over to an SDIRA, which I recommend because then you can actually put that into multifamily investments. But yeah, so as an investing perspective, I highly recommend the multifamily space to help your tax bill and the triple net for cash flow. So that way you're truly, because my financial freedom number is, my goal is to live off 1 million annually passively. However, passive income, you can only write off passive income with passive income. Hence why multifamily is important. Because if somebody's making 415,000 annually, like our triple net right now, and Uncle Sam wants his cut, you know what I'm saying? But investors don't really pay. If you got a good CPA, investors aren't paying taxes, by the way. However, you need to have enough write-offs, and that's where multifamily will come in, because then that, if you owe money from like your business or something else, some of that passive income can offset. And I'm not a CPA, so I really don't want to dig into that because things change. But I know we only have a few more minutes. Are there any questions or comments or concerns with anything I just said in the last couple of minutes?
So with a triple net, are you saying that is a full cash purchase using no leverage?
Correct. And that's because my partner, who she doesn't take debt. And this is the thing that you guys are going to learn in the space. Do not partner with people, because I did this in the beginning and I failed horribly. It took me over 18 months to get my first deal, even though I was active nonstop every day. Why? Because I was bringing up and partnering with people that are at the same level as me. Don't do that. You need to be partnering. All of my partners are about 15 to 20 years ahead of me. What I lack, they bring. They've gone full cycle 7, 8, 9, 10 times. They have a huge investor database that they have the ability, my investors get to interview and show their experience, right? They can say, no, we've never had a capital call. Here's 5 of my investors. So because my partner, she never uses debt. She buys these, usually I think they're under 7 million on average, 6 to 7 million. She's already a multimillionaire. She buys it. She gets it from a broker. She has a fantastic relationship with this broker. He feeds her deals. Her lawyer handles all of the legalities. She raises money for investors, and it's a 90-10 split. Cash flow, we got our cash flow 14 days after closing. It's because she doesn't take debt, because debt in this market you would be upside down. You wouldn't be making money.
It's expensive.
So yeah, it's super expensive. So most people, you don't hear people getting into triple net, because if you take debt out on something that's a $6 or $8 million property, and most of these locations are in Texas, if you're having to take out a 6 or 8% debt, boo. But because I have shown up and I have dated her for a while, her and I have vetted each other out, and I have a massive network of investors. And I was like, all right, she's cool. I've known her for 2 years. I'm gonna put a ring on it. Let's try this out. And I interviewed her investors, and everybody loves her, and she gets her, yeah, and she does multifamily too. But anyways, people don't have the liquidity to just, here's 6-8 million to buy a landed building, and they just pay out 90-10 split. Multifamily, that's unheard of.
But this is her strategy for that. But there are others that buy triple net with leverage, correct?
I'm sure there are. I just don't hear about them. I don't know who they are at all. Because to get into this space, my understanding is very difficult. So when I met my partner and she told me she was a triple net, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, all I know is multifamily. And she's like, you just buy the land in the building, and a tenant, which has an estoppel, which means they guarantee you, these are long-term tenants like Starbucks, Taco Bell. You are guaranteed this money unless these companies go under. And the probability of Starbucks going under, or Taco Bell or McDonald's or AutoZone, when they've been around for 20, 30, 40 years, is highly unlikely. And that's really your only risk. But I don't know anybody who does it with debt, especially in today's market. Or because I'm in a lot of multifamily stuff, and she also does multifamily, but I wanted cash flow. All of my investors kept complaining, Brooke, multifamily is great. I need some money. Inflation is real. Everything's going up double, triple, quadruple, except for my pay cut, Brooke. They're like, sorry, I'm tapped out. Give me something that has cash flow. So I'm like, shit, what's going to cash flow from day one? The only person I know who does that is Grant Cardone, if you're an accredited investor, when he gets an A-class property. Right. And so I'm assuming, but I know we're at time, so I'll stop.
Well, Joseph, do you have another question?
I was going to say, so limited partners in that would be paid throughout that like an annuity, and then at the end receiving their initial investment back in like a lump sum when that's during that exit strategy, when the property is sold again.
Correct. So I want to reiterate to make sure we're on the same page here. So usually 2 weeks after closing, so I'm going to use this example, say you did $120K as your investment. 2 weeks after closing, you're already getting $571 direct deposited into your bank account. Every 30 days, it's $571. You're getting paid to wait, right? 5 years in 1 month, because the price goes up on the value of what they pay, which makes it look good. Always leave with the exit in mind, right?
Yep.
Then we sell it. So then you get your return on capital. You get your $120K back. Plus you got all of that money you got to pay to wait.
Gotcha.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting that money to pay to wait, and then that, and then depending on whatever she gets it on, so yeah, your return of capital plus all of the money that you made to wait. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So, okay.
Great question. Well, look, I know we're almost at time. We are at time, but I want to, what we do, Brooke, real quick, is we ask all of our guest speakers a few key questions that we want to help the listeners that are here live, and for those people that will be watching the recording on YouTube, get to know a little bit more about you. So are you ready for a few quick questions?
Let's do it. Let's go.
All right. So one of the things, my family and I, we love to travel. And one of the things, like, it's just like, I think you mentioned earlier, it's a great way to experience the world and to grow yourself personally. What is one of the best trips that you've taken, and why?
Puerto Rico. And I say Puerto Rico because I went there with my husband. I was there for approximately 6 days. It was the first time I got to fly first class. And that was about 6 years ago. We flew there first class. It was because it's so important, especially when you have a family and kids, that the mom and dad, especially he's been divorced and I've been divorced, we have to make sure that we are focusing on each other, and this journey and having kids will really stress you out. So one, Puerto Rico, because it is cost effective. They speak Spanish and English. I was able to fly first class. I was there for 5 days. We stayed at the Hilton Royal Caribe, I think. It was a private beach. The food is phenomenal. And I think the whole trip was like $3,000. It was crazy. And the people are fantastic. And there was lots of little food trucks. People would go on the freeway and you're surrounded by water. They would get out of their car just to go jump in the water and play in the water, and they get back in the car. And people are just so friendly, and the food is fabulous.
That's
and a lot
awesome.
of history.
My daughter has been asking to go to Puerto Rico for a while, so that we're adding it to the list for sure.
I love Puerto Rico. I have some places I can recommend for you. The Bacardi distillery is really fun too.
Oh, I will be hitting you up for those for sure. So the next thing, so you talked about triple net multifamily, but triple net I know is one of the areas that you're focusing on right now. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you are working on today? I know you're also an entrepreneur. You got a book. You've got so many different irons in it. But is there one thing that you want to just share with the audience about what you're working on today?
What I am coaching on, or what I am working on right now, I have 3 top priorities right now that has been my major focus. One, we're on our 2nd volume of REWIRE, which is Real Women in Real Estate. So if there's any women out there, I think we are down to 3 slots left. And essentially, you're co-authoring a book. Every woman gets a chapter. And this opens up, it's a first-class business card, right? If you go find me on social media, my Instagram is Brooklyn0719, BROOKLYNN 0719. You'll see the different media events we've had. It's published. It's a hard copy book. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, the whole 9 yards, because representation matters. There's not a lot of women in the space, and your voices need to be seen and heard. Okay. So wrapping that up, and because we're doing audibles. So getting those submitted to Amazon, and now we're recruiting for the 2nd version. That's a big project right now. Lots of calls for that. 2, multifamily momentum. Because over 2 years, I've coached so many people, and the people like Brooke, they want more of my time, or they want a more intimate relationship. I also have a coaching program that kicks off in January. It's less than 25 people. I meet you where you are. Everybody has their own catered stuff. We have calls every Wednesday morning. Fridays are free for all Q&As. If nobody has questions submitted, we bring in a guest speaker based off of the overall group of 25 that we have. Lastly, I'm getting my real estate license because I'm not going back to the corporate world. I want to sell commercial real estate. So an opportunity has been presented to me come January. So I have been busting my ass to get a real estate license. It takes an average of 3 months. This is 64 hours, 564 pages, and 3 hours of a test. It is brutal. So this will definitely, I think I have a few more events coming, but become mid-November, I have to cut everything off. So I make sure I get my real estate license
Awesome.
for the end of the year. So yes,
awesome.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Incredible. There's only 2 more questions left. The next one is actually, I think, one that's going to resonate with you a lot. And it's about, what does financial freedom mean to you?
I love this question because I have this written on my vision board. Financial freedom means I get to be with who I want to be with, when I want to be with, where I want to be at. I get to provide financial means to projects that mean something to me, such as building a school in Guatemala, such as fighting injustices when I see them happening, such as the BS that happened in Puerto Rico and government was sitting on their hands. It just means having control of my life and being able to travel the world with my family, and having a better luxury of being able to say no to things and shit that doesn't matter and that grows and scales other people. So in a nutshell.
Powerful. The last question is one kind of in the same vein, but slightly different. The name of this meetup is Wealth Mindset and Real Estate Investing, but this question is based on the wealth mindset aspect. And you talk a lot about your journey in getting to where you are, the countless hours of books that you've read, and podcasts and conferences that you attended to really immerse yourself in the space to grow wealth mindset. But maybe you can share a little bit about, what does having a wealth mindset mean to you?
That's an excellent question. It's being aware that we live in a world of abundance. When somebody's doing the same thing that you are doing, for example, I have a coaching program, say Chris is also a multifamily coach. Because we are in a world of abundance, I know that my success or his success is not going to deter from each other. Your vibe attracts your tribe. So this is kind of a two-part answer. One, know that the success of somebody else does not deter from your success. We're in a world of abundance. God put you here to have a wealth and a human experience, okay? Get rid of the scarcity mindset because it doesn't exist and you're only hurting yourself when you think that way, okay? First of all, one. Secondly, when you are spending, when I spend my money knowing what I know now, I wonder, what is my return on investment? What is my return on life signing up for this event? What am I missing out of with my family or my kids? Would I go right now today of like, hey, Brooke, you just made this huge ass sale. You know, would I go out and drop 3K on a Louis or 5-6 grand on a Chanel purse? No, it's the stupidest shit ever. When you have a wealth mindset, you're in abundance and you also spend money looking at how am I getting my return back on this? So I'll leave it at that.
That's awesome. I know that I thank you so much for all the value that you brought today. Just pure authenticity, pure, the subject matter expertise. I'm really grateful. I want to make sure that I'm respectful of everyone's time. So one last time, if you can let everyone know here live and that will be watching the recording, how to get in contact with you, please, throw that out there and I'll make sure we include it in the show notes and send it out to all the people on the email list, as well as all the people that are following us on social media so that we can continue to share this information.
I normally tell people, give people one plan of action and don't deter from it. I'm about to go against my own advice. So because I'm active on the content on my Instagram, the Instagram handle is Brooklyn0719. That's BROOKLYNN0719. But I also want to give you my website because I also share events that I am attending or speaking at in person. And that is www.brooke, Pinero, Pinero.com. So www.BROOKECPINERO.com.
Awesome. Well, Brooke, thank you so much for your time tonight. Thank you all for joining here live. We're going to end it here. And just for those of you who do want to hang back for any little networking, I'll be here for
well, I want to thank everybody. I know I just totally interrupt you. Before you ever start dropping off, thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Selena. Thank you, everybody, for showing up and being on video. I appreciate y'all.
We appreciate you, Brooke. Thank you so much for dropping all the knowledge. We appreciate it. Have a great night.
Bye. Thank you.
Stop the recording.